Captain Slog, Stardate 9. Welcome to the continued adventures of Ensigns Mark and Eddie as we trek through all of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Joining me always, as always, in 10 Forward is my good friend and colleague, Mr. Mark. Mark, how's it going?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a week. I got the phone call back from the old brain people saying, yeah, you're fucked up. Do you want to come in and talk to somebody about it? So that was nice. But that was completely overshadowed by the stress I've had. Look, right. I fucking hate Christmas cards. Right, I hate them with a passion. I honestly don't think the human race has ever... No, that's not true. I guess they would have had some merit back in the old days.
Yeah, like Victorian London.
Yeah. When you were like, is my auntie still alive? And you get a letter every year and you're like, alright, she's cracking on. This just resets the clock. So, but the thing is, obviously, postage back then, like when you post something, it takes 3 months to go like down the street, right? So you're like, okay, so and then you go to the whiteboard and you're like, right, we can track that they were alive, that family were alive at least in like late September, right? Okay, that's good. So now, and come next December, we'll know. And I guess the point was people used to put activities and things and being like, here's what the family were up to. That's nice, right? There's a bit of effort in that. Modern day Christmas cards. Dear Mark, Merry Christmas, Auntie Anna. Right? Wait, what? I don't, like, you're not, that's not, there's no feeling in that. Like, you've done that out of a sense of obligation. I'm not going to send you one back.
Sending a Christmas card, I feel, is basically asking somebody else to deal with your litter.
Yes, exactly. And so I have a lot of anxiety surrounding Christmas cards, like in different genres of anxiety, because when you get it, what is the acceptable amount of time before it goes straight in the recycling bin? Because it's going to go there anyway, right? Because you've put no effort into this. You've bought a box of 400 cards, and I am simply on the list of people to be distributed to. This means nothing more to me than the free paper the little boy back in 2005 used to deliver to my door before the internet was a thing, right? You've not put any thought into this. If you actually had put any thought into it, like I fucking have asked you over the last couple of years, get £2 and donate it to my favourite charity. That's like an actual thoughtful thing, right? But a Christmas, because what do you want me to fucking do with it? Like, it's not like you don't see me open this, you don't see me display it anywhere. Am I supposed to look at like a collection of twee fucking Victorian Christmas scenes on the front and just be like, well, good, I feel loved? No, a pile of shit.
The thing about for me is, it's the thing of like, oh, I wanted to show you that I cared about you at Christmas. Oh, so you got me a present? No, not that much.
Yeah. I thought about you briefly enough to write your name on a thing and then sent it out with 1,000 other thoughts.
Here is the least I could socially do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? I do think Christmas cards did used to have merit, but in today's modern era, to me it's kind of like a social thing. Like, I personally believe, because I don't like... I mean, they're not going to listen to this, right? Because they're not going to fucking decide that they have interest in my hobbies now at 33. I don't like hanging out with my extended family, right? I'm sure they're fine, but their values and the way that they operate and their opinions on things are just garbage. So I don't have any time. Like, I'm just like, look, we've done this. Like, for the first 32 years of my life, or however long. I'm sure it is nice to see you, Carol. But do you really have anything to say that isn't just, if they're only 15% of the population, why are they in more than 15% of adverts? Like, why the fuck do I need to sit here and listen to this? Like, don't. But someone said it on Reddit. They said, like, a family gathering is just a deadline for you to pretend to be your most interesting self to impress people that you don't really give that much of a fuck about and you wouldn't choose to be around. Which is like, so...
Yeah.
So, sorry, Kenny, if you're fucking listening to this. But I don't... But I feel like a Christmas card is just like, I get it. Well, I've never sent Christmas cards. I don't understand the obligation, because I'm obviously somewhere on the fucking spectrum of I get a card and then the expectation is for me to send that card back. No, I get the card and I go, well, this is useless.
I don't even know what to do with them. Like, even if somebody puts some effort in, like if an auntie sent like a card through, it was like, oh, I hope you're doing well. What am I supposed to do? Send her back a message going, actually, I'm fucking nut. I've got a brain tumour. It's fucking stupid and quite offensive.
Yeah. To be fair, on my family, like, you're only hearing this from my side. I am self-aware enough to know that I am an arsehole to be around, right? I am not fun. I'm opinionated. I'm fucking loud. And I barely fucking listen. I have to listen back to these podcasts to remember what you have said, right? So like, don't think they are, if you know them, they're probably great. I am most definitely the problem here. But I feel like my final gambit is going to be, because this was the point I was getting to, I have been texting and messaging everyone who's like, what's your address? And I'm like, I don't really want you to know my address because I don't want you coming round. But also, here's my address. But also, I've been asking people not to give me cards because I feel they're terrible for the environment, which I genuinely do. I don't like getting them. They give me anxiety. So please don't send me them. But I feel like what's going to happen, because my family like to get one over on each other, is that I'm going to show up at some point in the next year and they're going to give me all the Christmas cards and be like, see, there you go, we're saving the environment, we're giving it right to you. And I'll be like, you've clearly misunderstood the fundamental fucking problem here, because not only have you cut down a tree, you've now taken a job away from a postman. So, but my thing is, I've got to, look, this is the experiment. I'm going to open the card, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to put it straight in the recycling immediately. Because really, at the end of the day, how different is that to fucking having it in my house for a week before I'm like, oh well, it's time to throw these out. I have kept one card over the years from someone who isn't my girlfriend, because obviously she puts a lot of effort into putting them, into writing them, right? My friend Nicholas gave me a birthday card in like 2015 in which he filled both halves of the card writing an essay that was like a dissertation of our friendship. And that was amazing. I don't hate cards. I do hate cards. I hate the way that cards are bad. Look, I hate the fact that you're like, oh, it's the thought that counts. It's barely a fucking thought. The thought is, I remembered your name. And even then, my Auntie Anna still insists on putting, like, quotation marks around Mark, as if she doesn't believe that's what my name is.
What does she think? Does she think it's short for Markophon?
Anyway, how have you been?
We had a dog. It's arriving on Saturday.
Hey, podcast dog.
Yeah, probably. I'm going to keep it for a couple of weeks and get rid of it. That's what you do with a Christmas dog, right?
Put it immediately in the recycling and see what Emma says. And just be like, I don't understand. Isn't this the exact same principle of taking care of it for 4 years until it dies?
It's a Romanian rescue street dog, because I like every decision that I make in life to slightly annoy the Daily Mail. Coming over here, taking away the jobs from good, hard-working British. But basically, fuck Battersea. Fuck Battersea Dogs Home, right?
And Paul Grady.
If you ever attempted to, like, I don't know if you've ever attempted to get a dog from Battersea Dogs Home, right? But you have to
only
fill
when
out,
I was drunk.
So you have to fill out like a questionnaire, and the questionnaire is things like, do you live in a flat? And if you say yes, you can't have a dog. Do you live? Is where you live like does it have stairs? Yeah, like, so it's basically there's a list of questions, and they boil down to, do you live in London? If yes, you can't have a dog. Right, and then on their website they said they're going, oh, no one's going to take our dog. It's like, back in the 70s, you could find a dog in a skip, right? Okay, take it home and just have a dog, right? Now now people aren't putting dogs in skips.
Yeah, you didn't have these fucking dog unions like you do now. Fucking
they
dog
work for their
PC
money.
Gone mad, mate. Back in the day, a dog could use a ladder without wearing a hard hat.
But But you know what I mean? Like, but it used to be like I remember growing up in like I grew up just outside of London, and I know everybody like was like giving away fucking dogs because like they just bred in their fucking like shed on a lock-in that they had in like fucking East London, right? And it was fucking easy to get one. And now it's like, oh, don't buy a dog. I go, well, I don't want to buy a dog because they're all designer breeds and they're a grand. It's like, adopt one. It's like, okay, can I have a dog?
Yeah.
No. And they go, but what we will do is we will email you regularly to tell you about how desperate we are for people to adopt dogs. Just not you. Not you.
The problem is that Battersea Dogs Home hasn't moved forward with the times. Back in 1997, they released Pokemon, which really satiated a lot of people's need to fight dogs. So, like, are they worried that you're going to start a dog fighting ring? Because they don't have to be. You have a Switch. Do you know what I mean? That need is taken care of.
It's very difficult to start a dog fighting ring when you've already got several on the go. I haven't got the bandwidth for the extra admin.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck's sake. Anyway,
Star Trek.
I legitimately. So I was walking around today, and I doing nothing, and I was thinking to myself, I'm looking forward to doing the podcast later. But then I remembered I watched this on. So we're recording this on Thursday, just to give a look behind the curtain. I watched this on Tuesday. On Monday, I literally can't remember what this episode was about.
Yeah, I watched it like last. I watched it thinking we could maybe record this last week because we missed a week because Christmas is a thing.
Yeah.
So I watched this last week and I'd completely forgotten until I opened my notes what it is. And now I'm looking at my notes. I was like, oh, actually, I kind of enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
The plot of this episode is Q tries to tempt Riker to join the Q Collective by giving him Q powers and seeing how that goes.
That's right.
And that's. I will say this episode starts really strongly because it does two things straight away, which is one, they tell us that Troy's not there. and two, Mark, I know, like, I'm going to bring something up because I know you said you can't remember this episode at all. Do you remember the wallpaper that the Enterprise has? Like, because the opening of this episode is like down in like the bit where everyone lives, and it's like the first time we've been there, and the entire place has like the most 80s jazzy wallpaper I've ever seen. It's like scribble stripes.
No, I don't remember this.
It looks like the side of those cups that you used to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. That's my main takeaways from the episode. The Enterprise needs better interior design.
My main takeaway from the episode was I did distinctly remember that Troy wasn't there and they made a point of it. And Laura out loud said, "Oh no, what will they do without Troy?" So, Eddie, please tell us the plot of this episode.
Oh, great! Yeah,
in fewer than 500 words.
Right.
I'll start counting.
Q turns up. Apparently, he's very interested in Riker, who he describes as, and I'm quoting directly here, someone I noticed before. But they think Riker would be like a fun. They basically decided humans seem kind of fun. So it's like, maybe we'll make a human into a Q.
Yeah.
Picard won't go for this. Riker might. So then they give him like god powers and test him out. And then at the end of the episode, he decides no.
That is kind of it, right? Like
That is.
there's a bit in the, is there a bit in the middle where they go to? Oh, there's a bit in the middle where they go to a planet and fight Napoleonic pig monsters.
Yeah, and all I could think when they arrived there, because the Picard doesn't go. Very specifically, Picard is left behind on the bridge, and when they get there, all I could think was like, he's deliberately chosen French.
Just because he knows how excited Picard would be when Riker comes back and tells him about what happened.
And I quite like that Riker's response to seeing him dressed up in like Napoleonic uniform is like, I have no idea what you're supposed to be. Like, I don't give a fuck about the wars, a series of wars that happened from his perspective 600 years ago.
When Q shows up, he is in, because he never says that it's his true form or anything, so I think he's just doing it to fuck with people.
What?
He shows up as a crystal ball with 3 snakes on it, And when he says to Riker, "Do you want to become a Q?" Laura turned to me and went, "Does that mean Riker's also going to be a ball with 3 snakes on it?"
What I love about that is that he turns into like his normal human form, and he's an admiral. And Picard's like, "You're not an admiral," and he goes, "I'm not an orb with 3 snakeheads on it, but you didn't have a problem with that."
Yeah. Checkmate.
Q is fantastic in this episode as well.
Yeah.
Like, he's genuinely fucking hilarious. Like, because he turns out, I've got written down the insult. He calls Worf macro head.
Worf. Speaking of Worf, Worf gets a real go of it this episode. I wrote down in my notes some excellent acrobatics from Worf right at the start, because he jumps over the sort of the second layer of the bridge. He sort of hops over that. That was quite exciting.
Yeah.
And then I also at one point have written down, this is how good I am at note taking. I wrote down the words "some real sass" from Worf there, but I can't remember what it was in reference to.
I think I know what this is, because there's a point where they're on the planet and Q gives them all drinks. Well, he gives Riker a drink, and then Riker goes, "Well, what about the crew?" Because Riker's not a dick.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Okay," gives them all drinks, and they all drink them, and Data just looks at it and holds it because he doesn't need to drink. And then Worf looks at Q, and there's like something in the Klingon code of honor about not drinking with your enemy.
That's right.
And
yeah.
then like Q calls him out on it, and Worf just looks at him and pours the drink on the ground.
So, I feel like we should talk about this planet, right? So Q comes on board. He says, "I'm going to go and test Riker."
Yeah.
And they go down to like your standard season 1 Next Generation planet, which is California with the sky tinted green. And here's 2 questions.
A series of rocky outcrops and one single background sky.
Yeah.
Because I got a secret suspicion they're like, "Oh, we don't know if it's a real planet or if Q just made it." And I think Q made it, but also couldn't be bothered.
I think you're right. I think it's just standard planet template 4. So when he right, so obviously the whole bridge crew goes, and then Picard's left alone on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Is the whole crew on that planet? Because Q obviously told everyone on the bridge that this was happening, and then took them all away. Is there an ensign down in the lower decks just having a shower that's now just appeared naked on a planet with no explanation? Oh no, some Napoleonic pigmen.
I don't know about that, but my bigger and more important question for you, Mark, is how long do you have to be alone on the bridge of the Enterprise before you have a wank in the captain's chair?
I mean, I feel like you're asking that quite flippantly, but I'm going to answer it quite seriously. I have a lot of respect for the rank of captain, and I would only have a wank in the captain's seat if I was the captain.
Right, okay, so what we're saying is between them all going away and us coming back to the Enterprise...
Four wanks.
Oh, okay. So you also spotted in this, right? Something really fun about watching Next Generation on Netflix is it's the digitally remastered HD ones.
Yeah.
So you can pick up a lot of like details in the set that aren't supposed to be there. That you're not supposed to know. The chairs, the captain's chair's arms are wood.
Yep.
I don't know why that just made me laugh. Like, is that like a custom option that Picard gets to choose?
Because we do have the same bridge set for the entire series, right? It isn't until the movies that they change the bridge set.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they make it more Voyager-like in the movies. What do you like the Next Generation bridge?
I do. I think the problem with any issues I have with the Next Generation ship design are not issues with the design. It's issues with the flat sitcom lighting.
Yeah. I agree.
If it was lit slightly better, I think it would look cooler.
Banging.
But equally would be a less functional workplace.
Yeah, no, yeah. they that is one thing they do get right on Voyager. The bridge looks exciting. I actually genuinely think my favourite bridge, because I do like the Next Generation bridge, but it feels kind of it feels a bit Rolls Royce. Now, obviously, the Enterprise D is the Rolls Royce of starships, right? But
Yeah.
there's something about the original series bridge that's really kitsch and camp, and like, if I had a bridge, that's what I want it to be. I love that big dumb chair. I love the buttons that don't have you would have to know what all of those buttons do. Like, you can't.
There's not a single label
No.
on anything.
And there's like a screen that's just like a kaleidoscope. What the fuck is that measuring?
Yeah.
Like, give me all of that. That's my dream. And I do like the, like, if I'm captain, I don't want someone sitting next to me. No, I want to be in the center of the room, elevated above everyone else.
I mean, when you consider it, like, the front of the ship, it's not like the captain actually needs to, like, look out and be like, oh, look, avoid that asteroid. Like, it's like it's
That's
essentially
Chekhov's job.
It's like an office.
Yeah.
It's like, because they don't have a bridge in Deep Space Nine. Because Deep Space Nine's bridge is literally like, it's an office. A door opens, he walks out and goes, "What's going on?" Nothing. We're a space station.
Sorry, I should correct myself. That's Sulu's job.
Yeah.
Just for the people who are really angry that I said it's Chekhov's job. But then it might have been Chekhov's job, and I've angered those people further. Who knows? Sorry, go on. No, Deep Space Nine, it's just an office, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's either Sulu and or Chekhov's job.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like the Enterprise. I like the TNG one. I like it. I think in the movies it's a bit better, but I've got no major problems with the next gen bridge.
I like the helm that you can push away to stand up normally.
Oh yeah.
And the next guy sits down and pulls it. I like that. It looks luxurious. Like, that captain's chair looks far comfier than the one that Kirk sat in.
Yeah, but that's because Kirk was never in his chair. Like, Kirk's view was like, if I'd been sat down for an hour, that's an hour I wasn't fucking.
So they're all on the planet, and Riker and the team, they meet up with Q, who's sitting there in a Napoleonic uniform, and he's like, well, he says, so Riker says, "What is this?" And Q says, "I plucked this from the imagination of your own Captain Picard." And I'm like, is this a game that Picard just plays on his own? Like, where does he pretend to be Napoleon?
Picard's natural memory of the Napoleonic Wars, he's just replaced all British soldiers with pigmen.
Yeah.
Because that's what he thinks of the British people, Mark.
He's
a space racist, a spacist.
I hope that planet isn't just something that Q threw together. I hope that's what Picard thinks France actually is.
That's what happens in France once the wine runs out. Everybody just turns into pigmen and starts shooting at each other. And then so when they're talking to Q, there's this whole thing that we really need to discuss. So Tasha gets zapped away, and then later on she turns up on the bridge, and it's like she's in a penalty box, and if anybody else disobeys Q, they'll go into the penalty box, and Tasha will cease to exist. And this causes Tasha to cry.
Yep.
At which point Picard says tears are allowed on the bridge, which does imply that there's been a previous rule. And then Tasha basically says she wants to fuck Picard.
Yeah. So we have so what we got there is the is in quite quick succession the two states that the Star Trek people think a woman can be in, which is crying or wanting to fuck Jean-Luc Picard.
I didn't remember Tasha Yar being as rampagingly horny as she has been throughout this entire series. Like, it's like everybody on the has got like in the office where they're writing this, they've got everyone's character on a wall with like a couple of bullet points, and under Tasha they've just gone horny, blonde, question mark.
I am. Look, when one of us gets famous, there's a lot of reasons that we're going to have to purge this fucking podcast from the internet, right? But I wonder if is it actually, because obviously we've been making fun of it because it's like, oh, Tasha has a trauma, therefore it must be rape, because that's what men understand women to find traumatic. Is it actually, in a way, you know the way that, like, Grant Morrison writes the Joker not as being insane, but in fact as having some rare kind of super sanity where he understands what's going on, and that's what makes him crazy. I like to think, Grant Morrison, I apologise. But I wonder if Tasha is like actually kind of super woke, where it's like, you know what? You can get raped by several gangs, and you don't then have to live the rest of your life never being horny. You can be as horny as you want. You will not be judged.
Yeah, it could be that. It could very much be that. But Jesus, it's a lot, Mark. That's like, we're 9 episodes in, and she's been horny in 3 of them. and in 4 of them she's brought up the rape gangs.
Yep. It's incredible that she didn't bring it up in this episode after hearing the word penalty box, which is what she was described as by the gang.
What? Well, Mark, I will point out,
that's the worst.
well, Mark, later on in this episode, right? There's a moment where Riker is using his newfound Q powers to give everyone a present.
Yep.
And he gives everybody on the bridge a present, except for Tasha, because if you're going to give everybody what they want, Tasha's would have been the door sliding open and a gang of men coming in.
Woof. Yeah, so the wishes, right? So Riker becomes a Q, and as far as we can tell, the only reason that Q chose Riker to become a Q is because of Riker's ability to stand like a pantomime genie, with his arms crossed and his chin back so that he can nod when he's granting wishes. So he gives them all, and it's all. But the problem is, it's all wishes that I guess Riker thinks. Because he gives Geordi back his sight. Well, Geordi never had sight, so he gives Geordi sight, and Geordi is like
immediately hits on Tasha.
Yes, exactly. As is his wont. Well, she's crying, so he's able to see, and he kind of looks and he sees space, and he's all taken aback. But like Geordi he just sees that. I know obviously he's had elements like in his past of saying, I wish that I could see the way that everyone else does, but he kind of objectively has better. It's a bit like Daredevil. Like he kind of has a better sense of what's going on. So I actually wrote down, would Geordi be as good an engineer without his visor?
Well, the thing is, like we know that the fucking visor causes him to have constant headaches.
Yeah.
So instead of just giving him sight, you could just get rid of the headaches.
Yeah.
and then you have all of his like super sight, where he can like see micro cracks and shit. Like in like, yeah, I think you're right. I think his gift has ruined Geordie's life. He makes Wesley 10 years older, or to put it another way, 10 years closer to death. He steals 10 years of Wesley's life.
See, I had a much different reaction to that, right? Which is that he turns Wesley into what we can all agree is a very, very sexy 27-year-old man. And Riker says to Wesley, I'm granting you your favourite wish, right? That's those exact words. And he also says that Wesley, your favourite wish that you told me about during our long talks, which is, so at some point Wesley has disclosed to Riker that his wish is to become a sexy adult.
No, you see, I think there's been a misunderstanding, and what Wesley thought he was doing was coming out to the only adult he could trust. And in doing so was describing his ideal partner And Riker was only like paying half attention because he's only actually talking to Wesley because Picard told him to. So he's like, yeah, they're describing this bloke. He goes, why is he describing this bloke to me? Must be what he hopes he's like when he grows up.
Do you know the only thing I think that would have been better if he then turned around to Dr. Crusher and went, and now I will grant your wish. He nods his head and then Wesley disappears.
Not only disappears, nobody can remember he ever existed.
Yeah. Oh man.
Can we discuss? Because I think we need to really dig into this. What gift does Riker Q give to Worf?
Oh fuck, that's right. He gives him a woman, a Klingon woman,
who he immediately punches.
Yeah. Foreplay.
Right. So he's conjured this he's conjured this woman into existence.
Yeah.
She didn't exist prior to this. So Worf's decision that he doesn't want this is a death sentence for this being.
Yeah.
Also, you can't give women as presents. Not anymore. Political credit's gone mad.
Dogs need to wear hard hats. It's not allowed. And yeah, because we've already had Worf's admission that he can't be with a human woman because he will literally burst her. So I can't really remember. What is his reason for not wanting it? Her? Not it. Her.
I think it's because he just doesn't like the Q and he doesn't want stuff from them.
Yeah.
But also,
because obviously, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm sure that the model actress that they brought in Klingon Up was like super hot. Do you think that's a sexy Klingon? Like, do you think that there's an element of it that we're not getting, which is that woman is a full 10 out of 10. Like it would be as if Q offered me 2008 Linda Cardellini, and the ability to punch her without no.
That's disgraceful that you would say that about Linda Cardellini. Let's go with 2008 Scarlett Johansson, because as what we know about her as a person now, probably.
I don't know, man. Because wasn't
why can't I play an Asian man? Listen, Scarlett.
No, you're right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. That's right. I mean, but I think. Do you know what? I honestly think Worf would have been happier if Riker had just given him that pig dog thing.
You know that they're like the Napoleonic pigmen that they fight.
Yeah.
If Worf was the first person to see that, would he like call back? He goes, "Yeah, they look like dogs."
Yeah. Why are these dogs here? As I was saying, by the way, so the brain people phoned me today, and were just like, we were talking through like what I need to go through before I can get counselling. Because in Glasgow they have a really good system where from your council tax you can access like 4 sessions of therapy, but they have to go through like a checklist of things first. And one of her things was like, do you have anxiety? And I'm like, yeah, I've got basically full-time anxiety all the time. It's great. And she's like, but I had started the conversation by going, I'm going to warn you, I mask all of my problems with jokes. If anything, it is literally my biggest problem. Luckily she thought I was hilarious, which again in a problem is kind of just feeding me. But she said, oh, that sounds like that you got anxiety. What is your worst case scenario? And I went, werewolves. And I just stopped speaking for a second. And she went, and there was a beat of silence, and she went, okay. And then I heard her typing, and I went, no, don't type that. Sorry, that was a joke.
They're not even in the top 5 supernatural threats.
You are a fucking maniac. Werewolves are the scariest things.
What? Yeah, for one night a month. Ooh, I'll just stay.
You only need to get murdered once, Eddie.
Yeah, just stay in on. If I lived in a world where werewolves were real, I'd just stay in on the full moon.
Well, yeah,
sleep in a cage that night.
Yeah, tell that to the guy. So the scariest thing I ever saw in a film, genuinely, is there's a bit in An American Werewolf in London where a guy is waiting on the tube, and he's at like Hemel Hempstead, which I don't even know if it has a tube station, and there's no one else on the platform, and he gets killed by a werewolf. I don't know why, but I saw that movie when I was like far too old to be making core memories of films that have frightened me. I honestly genuinely must have been about 12, 13, 14, and for some reason that image sticks with me to this very day. I honestly, when I watched that film, because I watch that film fairly regularly every couple of years.
It's one of the best movies ever.
Oh, the masterpiece.
It's fucking incredible.
My favourite thing about it is that John Landis will fight to the death that it is not a comedy. He gets genuinely angry about it. He gets angry.
John Landis also thinks it's fine to kill children with a helicopter, so fuck his opinion.
Yeah, exactly. He gets as angry about that as Larry David does when people describe Seinfeld as a show about nothing. Because it's not. Stop saying that. It's not clever. It's
a show about how a comedian gets his material.
Well, it's that.
It's so obvious from like the structure of the fucking show.
Yeah.
Thing happens later on that day. Seinfeld tells jokes about thing that happened.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's
also about what happens in a world to people who never grow or learn or change. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So, it's about nothing, because sometimes they go to a Chinese restaurant. Fuck you, the Friends went to a Chinese restaurant, and do you know what Friends is about? Shite.
But so
Friends is fine. Anyway, sorry.
You're putting werewolves above vampires.
Yeah, they're big.
Vampires are a constant threat. Like, it's not like it's any time it's night, a fucking vampire can get you.
Excuse me, Mr. Contradicting Statements there. Vampires are a constant threat so long as it's night.
Yeah.
Gives you half the time to be safe, mate.
But you let your guard down. Say you're watching an eclipse. Wham! They get you.
I don't like that. I don't like that they have the senses of dogs. Because I know you gave me some very good news earlier about your dog, but I'm truthfully somewhat ambiguous on dogs. The same way that I'm somewhat ambiguous on children, because I don't have one and never have in the past. I'm sure if I had a dog or a child, I would learn to love it. But but I don't know, man. Big dogs are scary, and they bark and they run on all fours. And that one used to be a guy, and sometimes I think about like, what if he's just a real? Because the thing is, you never know what the person who is a werewolf is like. Maybe they are a murderer, right? In which case, fine, crack on. But what if they're a really nice guy, Eddie, that doesn't want to kill people, and unfortunately now they're a werewolf and they have to?
Well, in that circumstance, you would assume that person puts themselves in some sort of werewolf cage for like full moon, and if they're not doing that, you can assume that they're fine with killing people. Have at them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ghosts are the worst one. Like if ghosts were real and murderous, you're fucked.
Oh yeah, no, I take that, but yeah, ghosts are infinitely worse than werewolves. But I feel like if I'd been talking to my therapist and she went, "What's the worst case scenario?" and I said ghosts, it wouldn't have worked as well.
No, to be fair, werewolves is a funnier word. It's got more syllables.
Yeah, exactly. Ghosts, yeah, but ghosts, yeah, because werewolves. Did you know, by the way, I learned this because I've been doing a lot of research into movie monsters. Did you know that basically everything that we know about werewolves, every bit of lore, comes from movies in the 1940s? Those legends just didn't exist. Like, even the concept of, like, a werewolf being the main animal, and a human into animal thing, that all just comes from the 40s, from the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Silver, Full Moon.
It's like when you find out that, like, zombies didn't exist. Like, zombies were even the voodoo zombie.
Yeah.
That doesn't appear in like actual literature until like 1920.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like literally the standard like brainy one that's Romero came up with that. It's mental.
There's
Because vampires only go back to as far as fucking Dracula as well. It's like all of this shit that we assume has been like stories that have been around for years.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that's been like thought up in like the last 200 years.
Yeah.
I want to find out what the real stories were. Maybe we got rid of them because they were all shit.
There's a great YouTube channel that unfortunately I can't remember the name of. I want to say it's called Lore, but I know it's not because Aaron Menke's thing is called Lore, and they're not connected. Maybe if I remember it, I'll to bring it up on next week's episode. But it basically goes into the kind of progenesis of where these legends come from, and it's super interesting. And it's hosted by a doctor of mythology, so you know that it's not just shit that she's pulling out of her ass. Because if there's one thing I like in my YouTube videos, it's credibility. Now, what the fuck were we talking about?
Star Trek.
That's right, yeah.
Worf backhanding a woman across the bridge. Okay, so I would put out, like we've done like the beginning and the end of the episode, but there's like a middle section where Riker has Q powers.
Yep.
And like there's like they're trying to. They've arrived at like a colony where something's gone wrong, and they're trying to rescue people. And there's a dead kid, and Riker could bring the kid back to life.
Yeah.
And Picard basically, and I've got this in my notes. Picard in this episode has a lot in common with my least favourite fictional character of all time,
the Shredder.
Which is Superman's dad in Man of Steel.
Oh, that could fuck right off.
With his laissez-faire, don't come and grab me, son. I know I'm near this tornado, and like, there's no way you could run, slightly faster than a normal person, and people wouldn't question it. You could get me back, and it would be fine.
If I can't save myself, I don't deserve to be saved. Superman by Anne Rind.
Yeah, maybe you should have let the busload of children drown. Did the children have money? Well, they
Yeah.
have value to society.
What were the children going to provide? Like, because obviously he saved the oil workers from the oil rig.
That makes sense.
Because
from a Randian perspective.
Look, it's going to take too much money to train up new oil rig workers for when we need to rebuild that rig. So Superman, can you please save these people?
Because we've had this conversation before. Zack Snyder is an objectivist.
Yep.
That's his personal philosophy, which is specifically in the world of DC Comics is the same philosophy as Lex Luthor.
Yep.
A character whose beef with Superman is that he doesn't believe Superman is genuinely good because he doesn't understand the concepts of like empathy, kindness, and caring for others, which makes Zack Snyder literally the worst human being you could possibly have make a Superman movie.
My favourite thing is when Zack Snyder tried to make a Lex Luthor and misunderstood so hard that he is in fact Lex Luthor, that he just had to turn him into a fucking weird. Because I don't. We're getting away from the subject here. I don't really think that Mark Zuckerberg would be like our version of Lex Luthor. I think that Zuckerberg is just a weird kind of robot man.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Bezos could be.
I put it down to I'm going to say this. I'm at a point with Zuckerberg that I'm using Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Which is the simplest explanation for the fact that the man runs the world's largest recruiting platform for the Nazi Party is that he's a fucking Nazi. And if he wants to prove me wrong, he could get the Nazis off fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All billionaires are a mistake.
Yeah.
Kill them all. There's nothing to follow up with that. Just kill it. Yeah.
Fully agree. So...
Anyway, they give Riker a dead kid and say, "Can you bring this back?" And Riker says, "No, I can't." But then I assume he has the body sent to his quarters.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
He could have taken the 10 years that he gave to Wesley and gave it to that little kid.
Yeah. The whole point of this episode is basically, if you have godlike powers, could you not use them? And Riker goes from not having godlike powers, nothing major happens, and he turns into a rampaging arsehole in seconds. Like it's like Riker has been desperate to be this exact prick his entire life, and now Because I don't know about you, but if I was given Q powers, I'd get rid of them, but also give myself Superman powers in the process.
See, yeah, that would be the compromise that I could be talked round to.
Yeah.
But
But then I use those powers to do really twatty stuff, like just like come out and go, well, apparently Boris Johnson has decided the law doesn't apply to him, so the law doesn't apply to Boris Johnson. Feel free to stab him. If I see the police trying to arrest you or stop you, I will stop them.
no, I'd go one further. I'd be like, Boris Johnson doesn't think the law applies to him, so now it doesn't, including gravity. I don't know, man. I genuinely, this like keeps me awake at night more than the thought of werewolves. If I was giving ultimate godlike powers, like, could I be trusted to not go in Thanos? I don't know. That's why I hope that I'm never given them. I think I'm quite a nice, quite empathetic person. But given the chance, I will kill most people on the planet.
If I was given godlike powers, I think I've thought about this a lot. more than I've very carefully mapped out my exact plan of action for a situation that's very unlikely to ever occur.
Yeah.
But what I would do is, I would just make sure there was an afterlife.
That is good.
Yeah, there is a heaven, there is a hell, and my personal afterlife is neither. My personal afterlife is that I get to sit in a chair and watch the people who think they're going to heaven get told they're going to hell.
Oh, yeah, that is good.
Tell me you don't want a ringside seat to seeing people like Ben Shapiro get to the pearly gates and be told, oh, no, I'm sorry, son.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is pretty good. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. I like that. Yeah, that's the new dream. Why do the phasers look like DVD remotes?
I don't know.
For like portable DVD players? How useful is that?
You know the muskets that the pigmen have? They fire like pretty decent lasers, right? If I was there and I was like one of the crew, when I got back, I'd be like, I've been thinking about it. Can I have my phaser made to look like a flintlock rifle pistol? I think it'd be neat. There's
also a bit where Geordie sees them coming with the muskets, and he's like, those muskets are no match for our firepower. I mean, they're just guns that shoot little balls of metal. And it's like, why the fuck? Look, humans haven't become fucking bulletproof in the last 300 years. They're still going to damage you. Fucking hide.
We know that the Starfleet uniform isn't made of anything particularly indestructible because we've seen a lot of people get fucking destructed.
Yeah.
While wearing
it's
that
very
shit.
easily freezing. Freezable.
I was just going to shoot. We've advanced quite a long way from the musket. I still don't want to get fucking shot with one.
Yeah.
There's very little difference between a musket and a phaser if one hits you directly between the eyes.
Yeah. Correct. That's the slogan for the temporal Division 6 in Star Trek, but just in Latin. There's no difference between a musket and a phaser if it hits you between the eyes.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this episode.
Not really.
Q and Picard have a fucking Shakespeare off.
Oh,
and we just
Patrick Stewart signed up for that.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart does like 5 or 6 lines of Hamlet, and it's fucking fantastic.
Oh. I'll be the first to say I don't really get Shakespeare. I didn't really study it at school. I understand its importance. I can't really read it. I don't find it particularly interesting. But on saying that, when it's delivered by someone who knows what they're fucking doing, it is mesmerising.
Yeah, I love Shakespeare, but the reason I love Shakespeare is because I go see it at the Globe. Teaching it as like books in school to kids is the equivalent of going, today kids, we're going to learn about Pulp Fiction. So everybody open your script of Pulp Fiction and turn to page. Well, no, it's not. It was meant to be performed by talented fucking people.
I would argue that it's more like a teacher describing a Spider-Man comic to a class that they can't see.
Okay, years and years ago, when DVDs were a thing, I got I got the DVD of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Nice.
And on the options of that, there was the audio descriptions for the blind. Now, look, I'm not gonna shit on accessibility for anyone, but it does raise a real question, which is, what blind person wanted to watch the Spider-Man movie? Because that implies the existence of blind comic book fans. Which is, I'm up for spending £5 to buy a story which, due to the fact that I can only read the speech bubbles, will only last me 4 minutes.
I have seen comic book audio books.
Really?
Yeah, you get them. You get them quite regularly in truck stops in the Midwest. Not a joke. I've been to a lot of truck stops in the Midwest. That is true. And Brian Michael Bendis' New Avengers audiobook was always like in the top 5 like CD collections. But I guess I mean, you know, it's who are we to fucking shit on them? I remember a blind woman came into Game when I worked in Game, and I got chatting to her. She was there with like her husband, and she was doing like most of the questions, and I remember her saying, we want to get an Xbox 360. And I was like, yeah, totally. And she went, what colour does it come in? And I went, white. And she goes, oh, it doesn't really go with my DVD player. I'm like, all right. But then she actually was telling me about it. I was because I was saying to her, I can't remember how I got into the conversation, but I was asking her about like audio description. And I think I made the exact same joke that I was going to make earlier, which is I actually once watched the 2003 Daredevil with the audio description on, and anytime there was a break in the dialogue, the audio description guy just said, "Don't bother." Because I remember Daredevil being the first DVD that really like had like it on the box. I remember saying, "Oh, this is audio described for the blind." It's obviously thematically appropriate.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's the blind's favourite superhero, because he's good.
Well, that's like saying your favourite superhero is Professor X because you're bald and you have a debilitating disability. Because what a lot of the readers might not know about is that you are completely paralysed from the neck down and float around in a weird yellow armchair. And we've just decided not to bring that up because, you know, why do you need to know that, listener?
No, my favourite superhero is the Hulk because Mark Ruffalo has the same brain tumour as me. So yeah,
congratulations.
I've got a decent conversational opening gambit for him. Other than you're the Hulk, I'd probably still lead with that.
I'd be like me saying my favourite superhero is Rick Jones, the occasional Hulk, because sometimes I can be bothered giving a fuck. If anything, I imagine that blind people wouldn't be appreciative of Daredevil because they demonstrably can't do any of that stuff.
I love in the Daredevil series where he's talking to Foggy after he's found out his powers, and he just goes, "Are you even really fucking blind, Matt?" And he goes, "Well, you know," he goes, "Oh, no, it's like fire, but how many fingers am I holding up?" And Daredevil's like, 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of.
Yeah, that's this episode of Star Trek.
That's this episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good one. I think it actually does. It is a proper Star Trek episode because it does deal with a proper, like Trek concept.
Yeah, what does a human do if they get godlike powers? And the first thing is refer to your commanding officer by his first name.
The thing is, as well, it's like the big revelation we're supposed to take away is, if you give godlike powers to a human like Riker, it'll just be a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
Unlike Q, who has those powers already and is a bit of a dick. It's not like, the humans can't handle it. It's like, no, anybody with these powers turns into an immediate cunt.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas if you're into that sort of thing.
And happy holidays if that annoys you.
Yeah, good. Bye.
Go